Welcome to the Future Frameworks podcast, Tessa.
Thank you. Welcome, Nicholas.
Thank you.
To our first episode.
It's our first episode. Yeah. What are we going to talk about?
We're talking about the 3 pillars in sustainability.
Okay.
Have you heard about those before?
Yeah, I deal with those, a little bit.
It's a little bit familiar.
Yeah, a little bit familiar. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to give us like a brief definitions of a few?
Yeah, sure. So people, planet, profit are just kind of like the 3 foundation pillars. Mm-hmm. They are explored in the system called LEED. LEED it's run by the USGBC, and it's this internationally recognized green building certification system that kind of takes all these 3 pillars as their foundation, as kind of like the defining feature of what, in their mind and my mind and probably your mind, and most people's mind, is a good building.
Yeah, exactly. I think LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design.
I think that's right.
Yeah. That was, I think, a question on
that was
on
a question
test.
in the exam. What does like your everyday look like? Like, give me an insight into your daily life. I know you have some chickens. Like, what does Tessa look like? Why are you sustainable?
Okay, so those are 2 questions. I'm going to start with the first one. So I'm more of a country girl. So I live outside of Calgary and on a little farm. We have chickens, we have cats, and then I grow my own food in the summer, which is, very short time period. So can't grow as much as in Europe. And then what else do? I bake my own bread.
Nice.
And then, so I spend a lot of time outside. In nature, which is, awesome. In the Rockies, here it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then I come into work and I work on sustainability, and it was always a dream of mine to work in sustainability. So I'm really happy I am.
How did that dream start? Where did that begin?
So that kind of started out of fear first, I would say. So as a kid, I was really scared when the news would come on in Germany and talk about, the polar bear is dying. I would always ask my parents to switch off the TV. And then at one point I was like, I can no longer just, close my eyes. That's not how the world works. So I think when I was like 13, 14 or something, I started to kind of research a bit. I opened in a climate, what was it called? I think it was like a climate club in high school. And then I wanted to study sustainability first, but then I realized that it would actually be smart to kind of learn the structure of like the economy and the market first to kind of know where can I, where do I fit in and where can I work on sustainability the best. So that's how I first did a bachelor in economics and business economics, and then I did a master's in Sweden in sustainability.
Beautiful. Yeah, you've been everywhere, right?
I've lived in a few countries, yeah.
Yeah. What was it, Japan?
It was Japan, Australia, Italy, Sweden, Netherlands, Germany, and now Canada.
Amazing. That's covering the globe. So that's really good.
Tell me a bit about yourself, Nicholas.
Yeah. So my passion for sustainability kind of takes a similar role, I guess, in the sense that I want to take action, and I don't like sitting around and complaining. If I have something to complain about, I better like do something about it too. So it kind of started my interest with architecture. Architecture was kind of like always early on in my life, growing up in Canada, but to a German family, a European family. We spent a lot of time in Europe, back and forth. I was almost like in full curious awe as to why our architecture in Canada isn't as inspiring or romantic as the ones in Europe. And Europe is truly, I think everyone will agree to that, is truly amazing in its architecture. So it was something that I was always a little bit concentrating on in very like maybe 5. I was probably 5 when I was first.
That's early, yeah.
Yeah, I was super early on. So I was always getting pushed into architecture. So then I went to the University of Calgary. Unfortunately, not an architecture degree because they only have it as a major, as a master's. And as a major for the bachelor's, they only had city planning. So I did urban planning, which was a great degree. I learned a lot about psychology, and I learned a lot about transportation and the challenges in the urban setting. Where I was actually also introduced to Dr. Asifa Getachew. He actually studied in Sweden, and he was basically introducing the sustainable design into the UFC, into the University of Calgary. And what he taught me was basically to specialize into LCAs. Yeah. So LCAs, life cycle assessments, where you look at the full picture of a building from start to finish, cradle to grave, and you look at all the processes that are involved as well as the materials, and then the embodied carbons is kind of the big measurement that people take because it's easy to measure and they put everything into that standard.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like my first introduction to sustainability. Through that, I was exposed to LEED, and LEED was for me like immediately was like, okay, this is good design. This
makes sense.
This is how my thought process automatically already works. You know, I think in this sense, and I want to kind of pursue that more, and because it puts it on paper. It puts the process, the design mentality on paper. And if you follow these guidelines, like you'll most likely end up with a pretty awesome building. And I kind of fell in love with that, and I pursued it further, which then led me to CSZ, engineering company based out of Germany, here in Canada now, who are also the sponsors of this amazing podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
They basically said, you know what, Nicholas, we want to expand this green engineering idea internationally. Like, would you be interested? I'm not an engineer. I'm not educated as an engineer, but I'm educated as a sustainable designer. And that for me was like a perfect role to grow and expand this idea. For
sure. Yeah, that's how they approached me as well. As like, you're an economist, you kind of understand how it works. You want to come hop onto the team with Nicholas, and yeah, so it's us two out here in Canada.
Yeah, and it's amazing because I love the fact that CSZ actually identified, without their like honest, true knowledge of sustainability, but they understood that it was a balance. So I'm taking like the architecture design side, and you're taking the economic side.
Exactly.
And they identified that already.
Yeah.
Because people, planet, profit, those three pillars, they need to work in that tandem. So I think it's super important that we have that balance, and I think we complement each other really well.
Yeah.
And then I think that's why we're doing this podcast. So to kind of bring it to the next chapter here, in your career, how have you seen the three pillars kind of exist in your experience in projects with clients? Let's start with the profit one. How does that come across to clients?
So the profit one is the one that I think the clients struggle kind of the most with at the moment, because sustainability never is seen as profitable.
Totally.
So that's kind of where I step in. I do a lot of like LCCA, so that's life cycle cost analysis, to kind of show clients that there's actually a true financial benefit if you build sustainably, or if you build with the LEED framework. And it's interesting because most people are super surprised of the outcome, because I tell them, there's return of investment for sure. Rent premium goes up. There's less turnover in tenants. And then you also have healthier tenants or healthier workers. Like everything is just so much better if you build sustainably. And a lot of it comes out to it being either a lower cost in the long run with like operational maintenance or renovations costs, and also for the people who live in the buildings. Yeah.
So why do you think clients have that problem with the profit side? Like, where is the barrier? Like, what is the misconception?
I think sustainability is always kind of, or especially here at the moment, I feel like in Canada is seen as like more of like a hippie kind of thing.
Like purely environmentalist, and not really anything
I'm going to
else?
chain myself to a tree.
Yeah.
Or
I haven't done that yet. Have you?
No, not yet. And so I feel like once, like as soon as I say I work in sustainability, people are kind of like, blocking me off. But then if I take a different approach and I'm kind of go, hey, have you thought about how what the return of investment is if you build sustainably? And then kind of, they're kind of more interested and they're like, oh, tell me more. But I think, the biggest barrier is just the misconception that like you throw all your money into sustainability and nothing ever comes out.
And nothing ever comes out. Yeah. There's no return on investment.
Exactly.
That's kind of been my experience as well with clients, is that first of all, they don't realize that it's not just environmentalism and not just like, Greta Thunberg and that ideal. Sure, that's maybe a third of it, but it's 2/3 is people and the profit. So those things have to work in full balance. And that's something that I've found kind of surprising that people didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no one's going to build anything if they don't make any money out of it.
Yeah, that's just the economy we live in. That's just
the Western world, and that's how it's going to be, which is totally fine. Like, I'm a capitalist through and through. I'm definitely not a communist. Just want to make that clear. But I'm definitely all for that. But that means sustainable building has to have that profit aspect, and which it does. Otherwise, it isn't sustainable.
No.
And I've had clients kind of talk to me and be like, "Oh, well, the LEED system is just like a pay to play and like to advertise." But that's not the case at all. Like LEED is very thorough in their investigations, and it's a huge process that the LEED AP has to step in.
And it's like internationally recognized. Like,
Exactly.
you know, in China, isn't China like one of the biggest
Oh my God, yeah.
builders of LEED buildings?
Yeah, in the last like 5 years, they like doubled the square footage and LEED certified buildings. It's crazy. Like they're really developing like crazy, which maybe doesn't bode well for credibility, but it's honest, truthful to say that their buildings are actually LEED certified and sustainable because we work with those processes and we know that they're super thorough.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to get your points.
It is.
And it's hard to get
really
that badge. Yeah,
it's hard to get that badge, and it's not just a pay to play. Sure, there's a cost involved, there's a fee involved, and sure, the upfront costs are maybe a little bit more. Like there's some case studies, across the board for large commercial buildings in the States. You're investing maybe 20 to 30% more upfront.
Yeah.
But you make that return in 2 to 5 years,
Yeah.
so you get that money back. And not only is it just 2 to 5 years, you're also resilient for the future, right?
I think that's really like the one important like key point from it as well is that like, policies are going to change. We have a lot of like more lenient policies coming up now.
Yeah.
And if you build very future proof, then you don't have to even change anything in your building, which is also going to be lower cost in the long run.
Yeah, totally.
It's always this long run mentality that's so important to have.
Yes.
Don't look at the short run cost, look at the long run cost.
That's a great definition for sustainability as a big picture, as well as that it's longevity, it's resilience, it's forward thinking, and it's not short-term thinking.
Yeah.
Because short-term thinking, as we all know, it's a very human thing to do because, it's easy to focus on today and right now. And it's really hard to conceptualize what's going to happen in 20 to 50 years. But that is a super important aspect because it makes life so much easier. It's kind of like investing, like compound investing.
We talked about this yesterday.
We talked about this yesterday, right? Like compound investing, you're investing your money every day, little bit by bit. Today, it's maybe $400, but in 30 to 50 years, it's like $40,000.
Yeah.
And to focus on that future, it's maybe tough. Maybe it's not natural, but it is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely think that the profit side is that driver. And it's a hard one to kind of get across because it's for some reason it's not talked about enough. That sustainable means profitable.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I love the aspect that it is also like environmental friendly because, I want to be sustainability through and through, but that's not how you're going to change people's minds. You have to start at the profit.
Yeah, you do. That's how you're going to get the clients. It's how clients are going to be intrigued. And if you don't start there, then it stops before it even began.
Exactly. Do you want to talk a bit more about maybe the other two pillars, maybe people or planet?
Totally. So the way that I like to think about the people pillar, I'll kind of like talk about how it's like in my daily life. A big aspect to it is communication, I think. Communication and health are the two big ones that I think. So communication is hard to kind of represent in a building, but in the sustainability sense, you're considering everyone who's around you. So you're considering not just strangers, but your friends, your family. You're staying in communication with them. You're texting them, getting updates. You're considering them in your decisions. That's kind of like I think a good daily practice of considering the people aspect of the three pillars. In the building sense, in the design sense, what I've experienced is, especially in Canada with the First Nations communities, that for public buildings, culture is a huge issue. Yeah. Issue in a positive sense, not in a negative sense, but issue as in being like, this has to be considered, this should be considered, and it's something that can't be forgotten. And, you kind of want to bring everything all into one piece there. And that just creates a more resilient building at the end of it, because then you don't have a community hating what you've just produced.
Yeah.
And it becomes a building that's respected as well. As for the planet side, I have this amazing dish soap, and it's this made out of wood. It's like these wooden bristles, bamboo block, and it's this block dish soap. So
that's awesome. I've seen those around. Like, yeah.
They like. I really don't like plastic. I think plastic's probably the biggest threat for the environment.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion, but microplastics do scare me. I know there's still science to come out on it, but it is a scary thing. So I try to avoid plastic as much as possible. I use glass containers where possible.
Yeah.
And I know the recycling isn't the best in Canada, but I try to do it as reasonably as possible as well. That being said, though, the dish soap is a great and easy solution because it's pretty inexpensive. We use it for like 3 or 4 months now. Only one block of soap we've gone through, and it's just like wooden bristles, wooden everything, and it works like a charm. And it smells like cedar, so it's
nice.
Yeah, it's a really nice scent.
And when you're done with like the scrubber, you can just toss that out. And
yeah, you can toss it out if it breaks or splits on you.
Yeah.
Ours hasn't yet after 4 months, which I'm kind of surprised. It's been running like under running water. And
good
wood
quality,
usually,
I guess.
Yeah, hopefully. But worst case scenario, like if it does break and split, it's wood. You can compost it.
Yeah.
And then you buy a new one. Sure, that there's a cost involved there, but honestly, it works really, really well. And I'm happy that it's not plastic. And I don't think it's more expensive than a plastic one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I should really make that switch.
Yeah, no, it's a good one.
Yeah.
But you use like dryer or
no, for the washer, right?
Yeah.
For the washing machine. Yeah, I use those like they look like paper, but it's just like thin washing fluid. Sorry.
like bounce sheets kind of.
Yeah, they're like exactly. But then you just rip a bit up, put that into your washer, and there you go. You have no packaging. You have like a little bit of like paper packaging.
Right.
And it's super thin, and it's I think like 60 washes or something, and it's the same price.
Oh, it's amazing.
As like a Tide.
Wow.
Yeah. The only thing is like it doesn't smell as great as like Tide would.
Whatever.
But
does it still smell like clean and fresh?
Okay.
Yeah,
exactly. It's
not
clean.
like lilac or something.
Yeah, or like I don't know, taupe. What's it called those Dutch flowers?
Tulips?
Yeah, tulips.
Tulips, yeah. Dutch flowers, yeah.
Dutch flowers. Yeah, but those are like steps that just like are easy to take. They're cost efficient, like where you don't really lose money on it.
No, exactly.
You feel better. The environment feels better, and it's just kind of a win-win situation.
And it's healthier, right? Like it's. And I think that's also like a hidden cost that people don't think about, or sorry, a hidden profit that people don't think about in building design is the health of your occupants and your employer or employees.
Yeah.
A big thing here, we build with a lot of wood in residential, and there's a lot of mold involved. Moisture is always a huge problem.
Oh my God, my windows in our house, like when it gets cold, there's like an ice.
Like just like thick condensation that's frozen on the window. It's really, really bad.
Horrible, yeah.
And they haven't figured out a good solution. Even the new windows are arguably worse than older windows because they just let no moisture through. So you're just trapped with all moisture. There's no air exchange. And you have, occurring issues of people with like, with fungus or mold growing and they get like respiratory issues and health issues. In the States, it's quite a big deal now. And those are all things when you build sustainable, you consider that. And in the long run, that's going to be profitable too, because if you have a building where everyone's unhealthy and they're taking a sick day, every couple of weeks.
Yeah, you lose profit in that sense.
Yeah,
for sure.
And maybe it's hard to put that dollar value exactly to it 1-to-1.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's pretty tough to argue against that.
That's where like LEED, for example, or the other certificate is called, I think, WELL. Really takes like indoor air quality into consideration and those and like lighting and those kind of things.
Yeah, and fitness centers and like how it's like laid out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also you have to have like I think 2 views outside into like a park or like somehow into the sky. Those things like it's really important for your mental health too, and
totally
that plays a role in there too.
Yeah, and LEED does kind of like jump on the site analysis a little bit as well, and considers like your green spaces to your floor ratio. And WELL, I think, just takes it a step further for like the interior comfort and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think WELL is a super interesting one as well in design.
Well, apparently, like 90% of like your time in North America you spend indoors.
Yeah.
So it's important that the indoors is, has
exactly.
good air quality.
Like, why are we building houses out of cardboard?
Yeah, that are molding quickly.
That are molding quickly if you're spending your majority of your time. And I'm sure you spend more time today than they did 50, 60 years ago.
For sure, yeah.
Like, if I think about all the time I spent on Netflix, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot.
But also, I have to say, the winters are tough here. Like,
that's true.
When it's like minus 30, max I can spend outside, it's like 30 minutes at a time.
No, totally. I think we can also talk about like a project that we've done actually worked together that was super interesting for sustainability was the ESA Mission Control Center, so the European Space Agency. They were an amazing client from the get-go, and they were basically wanted to go full force. So high tech, high standard, sustainability, you name it, they were open to all of it.
Yeah.
They kind of approached us and they were like, hey, how do we make this like even more sustainable? Like, can you guys give us a lead perspective, a DGNB perspective, and kind of tell us where we're missing some points?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, they were also wondering which certificate is better for them, because the building is in Germany, but they want to have a high standard of certificate. So the LCA, I did the LCCA for that building.
Yeah.
They already from the get-go, they were just amazing. Like it was hard to find the points where they could improve.
It was a tough building too because it's so unique, because it has so many unique goals that the building has to achieve with like antennas, communication systems. It's not a school, it's not a warehouse, it's not industrial, like it's not commercial. It's kind of like everything in one. And it was a really, really cool building to work on. And in the LCA, they kind of wanted to look at what a base building would look like, which is already tough to define, and then kind of compare like different designs with different materials and looking at how much embodied carbon they can actually save. And I think we ended up getting like a 30% reduction from like one model to the next. And it was pretty amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Just by changing like concrete foundation thicknesses and kind of tweaking those little things with our engineering squad and being like, okay, like this design still holds up structurally and everything like that. And it's this much better for these reasons.
I love it. I love when it happens. It's just so satifying.
Yeah, I know it really is.
Yeah.
So ESA was a really fun project, real life project where we got to work on it together. And I think it kind of engulfed all those three pillars. Like, sure, they had a great large budget for what they were doing, but they were still very conscious of the costs because it is public money, I think, that's involved in ESA. I think so.
I don't.
Yeah, at some level, I'm sure there is. And so that was always a big issue for them. And it has to be resilient building because they're not going to build one of these every year. They're going to build one of these every
is going to last
70 years.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Hopefully
longer.
Exactly. Hopefully longer. So they got to think ahead. And when you're faced with these facts where like you're actually forced to think that way, you produce such an amazing building. And I think everyone should be able to think that way. Yeah.
It's just important to start from the right beginning.
Yes.
Implement those ideas right at the beginning. Don't start thinking about it when you're almost done, because then it's really hard.
Exactly. Especially for a designer, like to be at the table with all the stakeholders right from the get-go, before the building's even like an idea, ideally, you kind of get all the table and you want to match all your goals. Yeah. You know, you want to get everyone on board, have everyone have the same vision. Your client is there. They know what they want. And not always do they convey exactly what they want in the best way because they're not designers, but as soon as everyone kind of has that conversation together, you can come up with the most amazing, perfectly tailored design for the site, for the use, for everything.
And that's when we use the framework of 3 pillars and kind of take off all of those boxes. Yeah. Because it really just engulfs everything we need. And it's important that like the 3 pillars like stay in balance. We don't want to have like an unbalanced pillar.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so important to have that balance because as soon as one falls away, it all falls apart.
That's why they're pillars, yeah.
That's why they're pillars, exactly. Like if it's not profitable, no one's going to build it. If it's not good for the planet, it eventually will face backlash and it'll be decommissioned or it'd have to be renovated, right? Based on policies.
It's not good for the people, nobody's going to use it.
And nobody's going to use it, exactly. Like if there's no door, like you're not going to get in. So these things have to all be considered, and it starts very simple and it goes very high level, and it also goes very like definitive and micro. Yeah. And so it's a really amazing framework that I can literally translate into everything I do. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Like you can translate this into every single sector in like the industry. Like like not only buildings, you can put that into tech, into the textile, into I don't know rare earth minerals.
Yeah,
all those kind of things.
Yeah, it's just like a guideline
or your own life, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just this framework that works for everything. And I just think the best way to grow this framework is in the building design sector and engineering, where it can really grow in green engineering because it is a planning discipline. It's a service. It's a planning service. Yeah.
And I mean, we also have to say, like, globally, the building and the construction sector accounts for about 37% of the operational energy and process-related CO2 emissions. And
Wow.
that's the data from 2022. So I don't know what the 2026, oh wow,
Yeah.
data is right now, but
I'm sure it's around the
so
same.
that's quite a bit. So we really there's such a big opportunity for us to
Totally.
cut those emissions, make sure that we build in a sustainable fashion.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And I think that it brings into that circular economy as well. Mm-hmm. And that's actually our next episode.
Yeah, so we're not allowed to talk about it too much.
So no,
But it's
I'll leave it
important.
at that. But it's super important.
Yeah.
And I think it also, you can consider these things like after the life of the building has expired, you have this disassembly aspect as well, which can also be considered. So sustainability, the 3 pillars, they can be implemented at any time point. They should be implemented earlier on, but any time point. It's not always realistic, but and they can be used in any discipline. And I think that's what those 3 pillars really stand for. And they're broad enough to understand, and they're broad enough to be implemented everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I think that concludes it. Hey, hopefully that defines for our listeners a little bit what the People Planet Profit means.
Yeah, exactly.
And thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you next time.
If you found value in today's conversation, whether it was our discussion, our guest insights, or the topics we explored, we genuinely appreciate your support in helping us reach others in the industry. Subscribing and sharing episodes help us connect with more individuals who are passionate about sustainable building practices.
If you'd like to continue the conversation or share your thoughts with the Future Framers podcast community, you can reach us through the contact information in the show notes. Your support helps us continue bringing you meaningful conversations with industry leaders and experts. Thank you for investing your time with us, and we will see you in the next episode.